good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric with American Business Systems. Want to welcome you here for those that are showing up on time a little bit earlier. Good to have everybody here. It's good to see James and Prashant and Daryl and Madrid. Good to see everybody. We've got some more folks that are just about to log in. And today we've got a special guest. I know that a lot of you have wanted to hear from Dr. Vicki Rackner, and we'll be sharing her information here with you just shortly, but we got to make sure that everybody gets in and before we get started here, because we've got a lot of ground that we want to try to cover here in the next few minutes here. As everybody knows, is when we do these webinars, it seems like we just start to begin them and all of a sudden they're already over. An hour goes by that fast. So we'll not spend a lot of time here on in the beginning, because I want you to hear a lot from Dr. Vicki Rackner today. And so you'll be getting a lot. So we got Abe here. It's good to see you, and Kevin, Tanya. Get some more folks that have come in here. So we'll give it a few more minutes here. Let a few more folks come on in this afternoon. So obviously, those that are on the webinar today, we're going to be talking about the subject: do doctors actually outsource their billing? And Dr. Vicki will be explaining that this afternoon. And again, this is exciting for me because I love to have somebody else on the webinar with me, and especially Dr. Rackner here. All righty, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For many of you, you already know where to go to the Q&A box here. So if you'll just put in some place that where you're calling in from, that would be great. That way I get to know that I'm being heard okay, that there's no lag time or anything else that's going on. And so this is good to have here. So if you'll please just put something over there in the Q&A box, and then you'll know where to put your questions and answers, or put your questions, and then we'll answer them throughout the webinar today. My name is Eric Auger. I'll be your host this afternoon, along with Dr. Rackner, who's going to be joining us as our guest. Let me share a little bit with you as we conclude our almost 29th year here at American Business Systems. Yes, almost 30 years. We're excited because it seems like we just get to count down the seconds now. As quickly as June is going through, we'll be in July in about 2 more weeks, if you can imagine that. This year is just going by so quickly. And so we're excited about our countdown to 30 over the next few months here at American Business Systems. And that's what you want to find. You want to find somebody that has the longevity as you are looking for a business opportunity. As most of you already know, that we are backed by an award-winning billing and EMR platform that stands for Electronic Medical Records Platform. It is powered by NextGen Healthcare. NextGen's been a partner of ours for several years, and they have they're the ones that power all of our software for us, specifically for American Business Systems. And we also have all of these other services that go along with your package here. So you're not just getting a billing or software from us. You're getting training, support, all these different services. They're all included in your investment here with us here at American Business Systems. The founders of American Business Systems are none other than Patrick and Linda Phillips. They are the owners of this, and their son, Adam Phillips, is the CEO. And it's great to have all of this in the family. As you can tell, that Adam's still a young man. If this has been around for 29 years, you know that they've been doing billing for longer than that. So obviously, this is all that Adam's ever known and grown up with. And now following in his father's footsteps here, running the company, he's doing a great job and bringing on new services, new opportunities, new support mechanisms. He's written articles. You'll see one of the ones that he has co-authored with Dr. Vicki Rackner, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Speaking of Dr. Rackner, she is also on the board of MERMA, which is the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. It is this group that actually certifies you as a certified medical revenue manager. Now, let me introduce to you Dr. Rackner. She is a very well-known lady. She has spoken or been on all of these different networks and magazines, and she too has written several books. One is The Myth of the Rich Doctor, which I'm sure she'll talk about. She's been on, like I said, several other radio talk shows and written stuff, and she's in the journals and everything else. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm just going to ask Dr. Rackner to join us here, and she can join us via video. And I think she's coming on. There she is, live. Good to have you here, ma'am.
Well, it is a delight to be with you and everyone on the call today.
Absolutely. Well, some of these folks I recognize. They've been on here for a few weeks here as they are trying to do some of the due diligence. Just to get you caught up, Dr. Rackner, we've been talking everything from, some pro tips of what makes people successful and why people might fail. We've talked about things like that. We've talked about some of the interests of do they outsource, why they outsource. So I think your topic today, do doctors actually outsource their billing, is great. And I think you've got some information that you're going to want to share. So you just let me know when you're ready to share that, and I'll turn my screen off here and let you go ahead and share some of the slides that I know that you want to. And as she does that, I want to let everybody know this is a great time for you to ask questions of Dr. Rackner as we go through this presentation today. So get your questions ready as we get started here. So Dr. Rackner, you want to share some of the slides I think you wanted to share with today?
I think I have. Do you see them, Eric?
I am. I just stopped sharing mine, and I think we see yours there. Do you want to put it in play, or do you want to just kind of go through it just like that?
Just like this.
Okay, that'd be great. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell everybody. Not everybody knows who you are. Not everybody knows, your background. So kind of just give us a brief intro to you. What led you into doing your billing, and just kind of give us a little taste of who Dr. Rackner is.
Okay, well, it's kind of a long and twisted story. I was in a graduate program when I had a surgical emergency. I was bleeding internally, and I remember being so grateful to be alive that I knew I was going to be a doctor, save other people's lives like my own had been saved. I became a surgeon and went into private practice. I mostly saw breast cancer patients. When I originally came out of residency, I joined another individual. It's kind of scary to just kind of go out on your own. But as I was working with my partner, there was another hospital where I had privileges that was going to start a multidisciplinary breast center. And so I broke away. I set up an office there. And one of the first and best decisions that I made was outsourcing. And it made a difference in so many different ways. It really helped me think about my practice as a business. And as a doctor, I'm not a very good business person. Most doctors aren't. But the reason that I knew that I was going to do it was that my original partner, his office manager who was doing the billing, quit. And she did everything. And our cash flow stopped. We had to make an owner investment in order to pay quarterly taxes. And I thought, wait a minute, that's not supposed to happen. The money's supposed to go the other way.
Right.
So I saw how important it is to have cash flow coming in, because you really worry when it's not. So I am so delighted that I outsourced my billing. My story goes on. In 2000, I made a career switch. I exchanged my scalpel for a pen. I became an author and a writer and consultant, really helping doctors and patients collaborate more effectively, getting better medical outcomes. And I thought, I'm going to do great, except I struggled and struggled and struggled. And I came to understand why I was struggling. And it's that I, as a doctor, am wired differently than business-minded people. I might be able to take out a gallbladder, but everyone here on the line probably does better with a profit and loss statement. So most doctors, myself included, would rather take care of patients than take care of cash flow. Right. They understand that it's important. And so people in your organization do an important job. I mean, they can make the difference between burnout and hope for doctors. So this is a win all around. It's been my absolute pleasure and honor to be a resource for Patrick and Adam and you, Eric, and all of the people in this organization. And I don't like to toot my own horn, but how many people can say that they've got a doctor in their corner?
Absolutely.
Helping market to other doctors.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is so correct. That is and I think that's one of the added bonuses. Obviously, it's an added bonus for those that do come on board with us here at American Business Systems, is that we've got all the marketing techniques, we've got all the strategies, we've got the training, we've got the support, we've got the software, plus none other than Dr. Rackner is on board here is with you to help you out. So Dr. Rackner, go ahead and let's go down this, but I think by telephone, I think Patrick actually has joined in as well.
Hello, Patrick.
Let's see. He may be muted, so let's see if.
Hey,
there we go. There he is.
Hey, Dr. Vicki, how you doing?
I am doing great. So nice to speak with you, Patrick.
It's great to hear your voice. I know we haven't been on a webinar here together for a little while, but I think it is important that our people who are looking into our business hear, from an actual doctor who outsourced your billing. I mean, you obviously can speak from experience, and I got on here a few minutes late. Did you tell your story about what happened there in your office and why you decided to outsource?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Well, look, I know you're going to make some great points here with the slides that I see coming up. So I'm just going to be back here in the background. You guys just interact with me whenever you need to. If I forget to unmute, let me know, but I'll mute myself so you don't hear, me eating my chips here.
Okay. So Dr. Rackner, tell us about some of your slides, because this is some of the things I think you actually share with other doctors. And this is important because you're engaging with doctors. So you're kind of taking it from, obviously, why would a doctor want to outsource their practice to an outsourced billing source?
Well, I would like to answer that question, but I'd also like to answer the question that might be in the minds and on the hearts of people who are on this webinar today. And that is there a real business opportunity here? Like, can I be successful? You might be comparing this to maybe just staying with your job or making an investment in ABS versus an investment in another business. And here's the headline. I am a serial entrepreneur. I think that this is a great investment right now, today. And I would like to show you why I think that. Because my main thing that I do is I help people build business relationships with doctors. Okay, well, you might wonder, why work with doctors? And the answer is Sutton's Law. When Willie Sutton was asked, why do you rob banks? He said, well, that's where the money is. And here are some of the numbers. According to the US Department of Labor Statistics, 10 out of 10 of the top earners in the US call themselves doctors. There's about 1 million practicing physicians and 200,000 practicing dentists. And get this, about 40% are age 50 or older. So when you're 50, you're sort of at the peak of your earning potential. And in case you didn't know it, doctors make very, very generous incomes. So I think that this market makes sense just from a numbers point of view. But engaging doctors today is a little different than it was 5 or 10 years ago when Patrick and I first started working together. And I'd like to explain to you what's going on in healthcare right now. The headline is really the COVID pandemic. I remember taking my dog for a walk the night before this huge windstorm had blown through and blew the dock from its mooring. I'd never seen anything like this before. There was a guy from the city right there. And I said, how are you going to get that dock reconnected? He said, we don't know. We've never been here before. And in many ways, this is what the experience of the COVID pandemic has been for healthcare professionals. Suddenly, they've been taken from their mooring in so many different ways, including financial. So if you had a mother or a grandmother who needed an elective hip operation in 2020 or 2021, or maybe even 2022, you might know that that surgical procedure was put off. Why? Well, we wanted to make sure that we had enough ventilators to go around. And every time I operated on a breast cancer patient, she went on a ventilator. So these elective cases were postponed. And these elective cases are the engines that drive profitability of individual doctors and clinics and hospitals. So at the beginning of 2020, the Mayo Clinic, which is the largest employer in the state of Minnesota, announced sweeping pay cuts. And, doctors in private practice, general surgeons, many of them saw an 80 to 90% reduction in their incomes. Now, these are doctors who were already behind in retirement planning. So there is a real crunch here. What are we going to do? In the early 2000s, many doctors sold their practices to hospitals and clinics, thinking that they were going to get security, only to find out that no, they could get laid off too. They didn't have the economic security that they thought. So doctors are really focused on money. It's not business as usual. They're realizing that they've got to bring a new mindset and some new practices to healthcare in order to deal with all of the results. The other thing is doctors are very social creatures. And we used to gather together, the doctor's dining room and the surgeon's lounge. But what we're finding is that more and more interactions are happening virtually. You might have had a telemedicine visit with your doctor. This technology has been around forever. The reason that we're seeing it is insurance companies have finally figured out how doctors are going to get paid for it. What doctors have realized is that you can form meaningful relationships virtually. And there's an awful lot of doctors who are hanging out on social platforms, on LinkedIn. And here's the big shocker. There's a lot of doctors on Facebook because Facebook allows them to have these private groups so that they can have conversations outside of their patient's earshot. So now there's even a new way of engaging doctors through social marketing. Another trend that continues is the unfortunate trend for burnout and even suicide. So burnout was at an epidemic. They were talking about this in 2018, 2019, when the burnout rate was up to 40%. This past year, it's 60%.
Wow.
60% of doctors say that they are burned out. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be treated by a doctor who's burned out. Now, when these doctors were asked, what would most help to turn around your burnout? Number one answer was increased compensation to avoid financial stresses. And in the minds of doctors, what that often means to them is I need to see more patients. I need to work harder.
Yep.
Not realizing that there is another great option, which is working smarter. Get paid for the services that you've already delivered. So when I would submit my bills to the insurance company, they would reject about 20, 30% of the claims. And a lot of times people are just so busy, patient care comes first, that you never really follow up on them. My CPA actually told me, hey, you need a tax break. These unpaid insurance bills are a great way. Don't worry about it. But there is a better way. So you could potentially be the hero, not just becoming more profitable yourself, but helping a doctor turn around burnout and maybe even avoid suicide.
Right.
So this is important stuff here. Before I go on to my next point, you Would you
Yeah.
like to add anything?
Yeah. I mean, you've shared a ton of information with everybody, and I want to make sure that those that are on the call feel free to type in any of your questions. If you've got any questions specifically you want Dr. Rackner to answer for you, now's a great time. She's kind of laying out the reasons why a doctor will outsource and should outsource. She's going to go into it a little bit more in depth here. So, folks, if you got any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and I'll interject whenever I can with Dr. Rackner. But let's go ahead and move on. I know that.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah. Go ahead, Patrick.
Let me ask Dr. Vicki, do you mind going back to that previous slide? Because there's one thing I just noticed on that I hadn't seen before. Of course, if they need increased compensation to avoid financial stress, that means they need more cash flow. They need more money coming into the practice. And of course, that's what we help doctors do. People who join us and become licensees or business owners, we call them, they go out and help doctors bring more money in. So people ask, well, how hard is this to sell? Well, how hard would it be to sell popsicles in the Sahara Desert? It wouldn't be hard at all, would it? Same way here, when you're telling a doctor that you could bring in sometimes 20 to 30% more revenue, that gets their attention real fast.
Yes. Yeah.
Without seeing a single extra patient.
I was about to add,
Right.
It's not that they have to see more patients or even increase their staff so that they can see more patients or do anything else. It's getting paid on the patients that they've actually seen. That's where everybody that's on here on the call today really needs to let that sink in. It's not a matter of getting more patients or creating more busyness for the doctor. It truly is just getting paid for what you've already done.
Yep.
And I want to point out something else, and that is that physicians are not the only healthcare professionals who are burned out. We've seen nurses and support staff get burned out too. So a lot of doctors are saying, I can't even find somebody to do my billing or my scheduling.
Right.
So all of this really sets the stage for your success. And I'm not making any of this stuff up. I'm just telling you how it is. But here's another thing that's very concerning with other people. And that's that some people say that we are headed towards a recession. Forbes magazine suggested that there are 3 industries that are going to do well during this recession. Top of the list is healthcare. So if you're thinking about, maybe opening up a Subway shop or starting a medical billing system, this is the better choice, just from a business point of view. And
I had a friend who wanted to, get to a 6-figure income. So he bought a Subway sandwich shop. And of course, he put a lot of money into that and thought, well, surely this will generate that kind of revenue. He only netted about $45,000 the first year. And even though some Subway shops do better, it depends on the location. He had to eventually buy 3 more so that he could get a 6-figure revenue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, you want to make a smart business choice, and I really applaud you for being here and vetting this opportunity, but this is a solid opportunity. The other thing that's making it easier to be more successful is that, in a sense, it's easier to engage, to reach out and connect with doctors. Now, a lot of people are really scared about that. And what I will tell you is that doctors really are wired differently than you are. I divide the world into what I call suits, people with a business mindset, and white coats, clinicians, kind of like me. Some people are ambidextrous, they do a little of both. But because they are wired differently, it means that you've got to engage them differently. And like I had this big aha when I was struggling in my own business. I went over to Europe to speak, went to plug in my laptop, and you can't do it directly because Europe is wired differently than the US. And I thought, that's it. Like I, as a doctor, am wired differently than business-minded people who I want to write me a check. I need to create this adapter. And when I did that, my business transformed. So really my secret sauce is building the bridge between the world of business and the world of medicine. The bridge goes both ways. So I have a brand, Engaging Doctors, to help people build business relationships with doctors. But I've also got another business, Thriving Doctors, that helps doctors approach their practice in a more business and entrepreneurial way. So all of the content that I develop for doctors is tested and it's available for people who want to engage doctors. So just to really drive home the point, it's required by law that I tell you this story. So I learned from Shark Tank. There was a doctor who entered the Shark Tank. He wanted funding for his company, Syndaver. He sold synthetic cadavers. This is a billion-dollar industry that I had millions of dollars in sales. The sharks were all engaged. And I thought, this guy is going to get a 5-shark deal. But then the question started, tell us about your revenue. Tell us about your profitability. And there on national TV, this doctor says, well, I suppose I could be making a lot of money, but money is not really that important to me. Making a difference. Oh my goodness.
I bet that went over well with Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah.
He was out. 4 of the sharks were out. He got a deal with Robert Herjavec that fell apart in a couple of weeks. And if you ask, like, what is the problem here? It wasn't about the investment, right? It was about the doctor's inability to understand what his buyer wanted and needed to hear. Now, imagine that there's another reality show. We'll call it Surgeon's Lounge. So you enter a room and there's 5 surgeons sitting in plush leather chairs, and you want all of them to outsource their billing to you. Well, most, and this, it breaks my heart to say this, but most people make exactly the same mistake in this reality show, Surgeon's Lounge, that the doctor made when he entered the Shark Tank. It's an inability to understand what's important to doctors and what drives doctors' choices. So you might wonder, how did I find the person who would outsource my billing? Well, I started asking around with other doctors. Hey, do you outsource your billing? Do you like your person? Why or why not? And when the same name kept on coming up again and again, well, I found my gal. So once you establish yourself as the go-to guy or go-to gal, doctors are basically going to help you grow your business just by doing what they naturally do, which is to go and help other doctors.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why you become such a great asset to our business owners here at ABS. And because if they could hear from another doctor like yourself, as people might remember that you're able to, through the books that you've helped us construct and put together and written, and then some of the introductions that you actually get to make. And that's all part of their training and how that works and when that comes into play. But you're spot on there. Sherry's got a question here. So let me make sure that I get this question answered for her. This is a good time to break here. We're at the kind of the bottom of the hour. She just simply says, hey, when time permits for ABS to answer, I'd like for you to answer in a nutshell, how do I make or generate income? Once the doctor has agreed to come on board, what do I do to see the process through and continue to reap the benefits? Am I doing the actual billing myself, or is there a team ABS provides that completes the billing and sends through a clearinghouse? So Sherry, I'll answer that to you in a nutshell. You are your own medical billing company. That's what you're getting. That's what you're getting involved with us here to do. You are autonomous. You are independent. You become part of the largest independent group of national billers in the United States here through American Business Systems. And so, yes, you'll be doing all of your own billing. So you reap all of the benefits. So you don't have to pay ABS to have somebody to do the billing, then you pay us a portion of it. We're going to help you get set up with the doctor. We're going to make sure that you've got all your contracts written properly. We'll even help you make sure that you're charging the right percentage, so that you'll know exactly how much money that you're going to be making at the end of the day. That's what we do for you. We're supporting you through it as, again, for a complete.
Eric, is that you typing on Google there? We see that.
No, that's not me.
That's me.
That's
okay.
Dr.
Well, hey,
Rackner.
Eric, let me just say this. I did talk to a licensee just this week on the phone about this very thing. She was afraid to go out and get a client. She said, well, I don't know how to, do the billing yet. I haven't got all the details and, she completed the training, but, she still felt uneasy. I said, well, don't worry about it. We as a company have been doing this for years. We partner with licensees like yourself. If you ask us that you need help, we can help do the billing. We actually outsource it to another one of our licensees in a different part of the country. And with an agreement, of course, that they split some revenue with you, and they'll do the billing to get you started. In fact, they can even get on a Zoom and teach you how to do it so you can take it over yourself.
You bet.
Yeah.
Okay. And just so you see some numbers, so these are average annual physician compensations by specialty.
Yep.
So remember, this is after they've already paid their overhead, right? So maybe a plastic surgeon will bill out $650,000 to bring home $576,000. The ABS person gets a percentage of that number. So you can see what these numbers are, and you can imagine what kinds of numbers they could be for you.
That's exactly correct. Yep. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, this is a great chart.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this in a while, but people ask us, well, which doctors should I go after? Well, looking at this chart, I'd go after plastic surgery, orthopedics, cardiology, and those next two or three, because that's your top income earners. And of course, you make a percentage, like Dr. B said, of everything that you bring in for those doctors. So of course you want to start with those. Now, if you got down to the bottom there and, well, not to the bottom, but way down there, even the bottom, and look, this is pediatrics, for example. They only make $250,000 a year. How would you like to have 6% of that?
Right.
And remember, they bill out more in order to bring that home.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because
like you said,
after,
this is their net, isn't it?
right, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, so
Exactly.
this is what you'd be getting on your percentage there. So that's a great chart there. I appreciate you sharing that. Did you have some more slides that you wanted to share with us?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, I've always got things to share.
Good.
So some people think that the idea of building a business relationship with doctors is really hard. Maybe they know somebody who tried to build business relationships with doctors in the past, and they said, oh, you just can't do it. What they probably did was made the same mistake that doctor made when he entered the Shark Tank.
Right.
So one thing that you get with your training is an understanding about how to push the buy button, how to talk to doctors so that they are saying yes to you. And I want to argue that it's actually easier to build a business with white coats than with suits. So I primarily work with financial advisors, and they are so grateful to go through my training, get my coaching. And oftentimes when they deliver a compliment, I will say to them, well, thank you. I really appreciate that kind comment. Now, listen, I'm here to make a big impact. So if you know other financial advisors who would like to work with doctors, please feel welcome to pass along my name. And what they almost always say is, are you kidding? You're my secret weapon. I'm not going to tell anybody about you. And that is not what doctors do. If we find a resource that other people are going to benefit from, whether it's better treatment for breast cancer or whether it's an outsourced biller, we spontaneously will offer that. So let me just go through just some details to really help you understand this thing about building business relationships with doctors. Okay.
You want to switch? Did you want to switch over to your slides?
Thank you, Eric.
You're very welcome.
Okay, can you see him now?
There we go. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Okay, so doctors are already networked together, right? So when my breast cancer patients needed an operation, maybe they had a cardiologist, a primary care doctor, a diabetologist, maybe an orthopedic surgeon. And I connected with all of those people. Your end game for success in the medical market is to be the go-to guy or go-to gal among targeted groups of doctors who already network together. So I remember being at a meeting of the Seattle Surgical Society. And one guy said that he once signed an employment contract on a cocktail napkin at an event like this. So if you have just like turned things around for a surgeon, I could easily imagine, a conversation that goes something like this. John, I haven't seen you look this happy in 3 years. He said, oh, I was at the end of my rope. I was wondering if I should close my practice. But then I outsourced my billing and I have a new lease on life. You outsourced your billing. Who'd you outsource it to? Can I have this person's name and number? So that's how
most of our licensees get their new clients
Yeah.
from referrals once they've got one, and we teach them how to do that. By the way, we've actually had a doctor who, one of the licensees was talking to the doctor and she said, oh my goodness, I can't do anything right now. I'm about to lose the lease on my Mercedes. And the licensee said, well, look, let's just do this quick practice analysis. Let me do it with your office manager or whatever. And I'll come back and show you that you can afford that, a Mercedes. And anyway, long story short is about 3 months later, she went out and bought a Mercedes, not leased it. She bought it cash.
There you go.
Nice, nice. So doctors really want to share great ideas. And so, the kinds of changes, the kind of transformation that you can make is noteworthy. Now, I will also tell you that doctors behave kind of like tropical fish.
I love that picture.
Yeah.
Together, and they tend to move under the direction of the leader. And they do this for the same reason tropical fish do. It a protection against predators. So doctors are very suspicious of outsiders. Are you a good witch or are you a bad witch? And so that is the reason that it is so important to have doctors talking about you and talking about you well. So the rate at which you build your practice is the rate at which you build trust. And how do you build trust? Well, you do it by delivering value, right? So ABS offers all sorts of ways to deliver value. And I'm just going to take a weird side trip. So last week I was driving my car. I was at a stop. I went to make a left turn. So the left turn signals come on. The guy who was approaching me was making a really wide left turn. So I made a really narrow left turn and I went over a curb and it was like a huge thud. And my check air tire lights went on. I was already on the freeway and I thought, okay, 3 exits up, there's a gas station. But it was pretty clear I was not going to make it that far, right? And so I pulled off the freeway. This guy just whips in front of me, goes to the end of the exit, puts on his flashers, and comes out and asks me, would you like some help changing your tire? And my first response was no, you're driving an SUV. Are you going to throw me in the back of the SUV like Silence in the Lambs? And then I thought, well, I'm so insulted. Doesn't he think I can change my car tire? And there was something about him. And so I said yes to the offer of help. And he was just absolutely wonderful. But, as you build a business relationship, it's kind of like this. That guy, Mark, was there exactly when I needed him. but still there were some trust issues that needed to be overcome. So there are smart ways of doing that. But the reason you might want to do this is because doctors are very loyal clients. You will probably have a doctor client for life. And also, doctors gossip like teenage girls. So they're going to say good things about you or bad things about you. And the worst thing that you can do is be out of integrity. Like, doctors understand people make mistakes, right? But if you're not truthful, if you don't take responsibility, that's when people start saying bad things to you. So if you do things right, you have this possibility of achieving what I call escape velocity. So, you know, if you're going to launch a rocket ship into outer space, most of the fuel goes to overcome the gravitational force of the Earth. And once you're beyond that, it is pretty much smooth sailing. So once doctors start talking about you, your practice will grow without doing pretty much anything except doing a good job for doctors. So these are all of the reasons that I think that this is a wonderful, wonderful business opportunity.
You know, Cynthia, one of our licensees up in, I don't know, out in the Midwest, she says that she has, oh gosh, Eric, I forget how many now. She's got 15, 20 clients.
Right.
These are practices with multiple providers inside those practices. She said, Patrick, I only signed up one of them here in my local area. He gave me a reference to another doctor in, you know, Alabama. And I just over the email and Zoom and all signed that guy up because he knew this doctor. A referral, folks, is just a wide open door saying, look, you did a good job for my friend. He's recommending you. Come on in.
Absolutely. I'm gonna put this back out there to our attendees that are here today. Again, if you've got any questions, we've got about 17 more minutes here for the webinar. If you got any questions specifically that you would like to ask Dr. Rackner, this is a great time for you to do that. I mean, you've got the doctor that's on here today. I know she's giving you a lot of great information, and there's no questions here so far, so I'm gonna keep going with you, Dr. Rackner. If you've got a few more things you want to start kind of wrapping up with, and then I'll take it from here, and then we'll kind of close it out, and then we just, obviously, we always appreciate your time, and obviously, thank Patrick for being on here too as well.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Hey, by the way, I just want to let you both know I might have to drop off here. I've got another call at 5. So if I just disappear, you'll know I was going to say goodbye.
Very good. Thanks, Patrick.
Appreciate you being on here today.
Yes.
So great to connect with you.
Yeah.
All right. So if you got any more slides you want to share or any last minute things you want to share or just talk to the people, you've got the floor.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that most of you would be very surprised to learn about doctors and their relationship with money. So I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of doctors about their money stories. And if you hear enough stories, you start seeing patterns. So my book, The Myth of the Rich Doctor, and then the 9 money mistakes that doctors make, summarize a lot of my findings. And Eric, how about if we give all of the participants digital copies of these books, just so that they can educate themselves and learn more about doctors and their relationship with money?
Yeah,
I know I've spoken with people who say, doctors, yikes, you know, they're kind of intimidating. But I'm here to tell you that you know more about money than doctors do. So you truly can offer financial leadership to doctors.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So folks, just like what we've done in the past, if you're on here today and you're listening to us live, you can request this information from the person that invited you to the webinar today. Just ask them for a PDF of these books. We're more than happy. Folks, you know, I've talked to you about The Myth of the Rich Doctor before, but she's offering that to you for free today for being on the webinar. So again, thank you, Dr. Rackner. If you've got any other questions, people out there, feel free, but you know, appreciate you giving us that offer, Dr. Rackner. Let's kind of start wrapping this up because we've got about 15 more minutes. what is kind of your takeaway of everything you've said? So you kind of laid out two major things. One was doctors coming out of COVID. Another one is this whole recession. We don't know if we're going to go into a recession. We might go into a recession. Obviously, the people that are on here, they're having to invest in themselves. And, obviously, money might be tight, but, your recommendation in getting involved in this sounds to be on the right side of saying, hey, ABS is here to help you. We can help you get doctors. There are doctors that are out there that need the help. Kind of wrap that up for us here.
You bet. So I am a serial entrepreneur. I was just thinking about the money that I've invested that I never saw a return on the investment. So you get involved in enough of those deals that you start to say, okay, here's my checklist. Here's how I'm going to decide whether or not to invest in a business. One is, the numbers, running the numbers. Are the numbers there? So, we are never going to lose our doctors, right? Healthcare is never going to be outsourced. There's 1 million practicing physicians in the US. They need to get paid. They need to submit bills. So check number one. The second thing I wonder about is there a system to get you from where you are now to where you want to be? Like, are there real people like you who have been successful? And one of the great things about ABS is that they do have this way of helping you get from no doctor clients to, where Cynthia is.
Right.
And don't you interview successful people and find out how they done it?
I've probably got, there might be 40 or 50 interviews that I've done over the years with various licensees. And a lot of them will actually say that to me. Just, Patrick, I tried on my own. I couldn't make it. And you guys just showed me exactly how to get this thing going, step by step.
So the third thing I wonder about is, do I have the potential to get my own needs met? We all have places where we thrive. We all have things that we really enjoy doing. And so can you build a business in a way that honors yourself, your values, and your priorities? And there are some things that people sell that are kind of questionable, right? It's kind of in the gray area. And I don't want to be involved with anything like that. I want to do well by doing good.
Yeah.
And I think that you can see that doctors need this help. Doctors have worked really hard during COVID. And wouldn't it be great to kind of give back to the people who've been caring for the people in your community, maybe even you, in a way that you can enjoy the rewards yourself? So, according to my checklist, ABS checks all of the points. So
Sure.
I'm really excited about that. And I don't get paid to say this, I don't get a percentage of the sales or anything. I just say this because I'm genuinely so enthusiastic about this opportunity, especially today.
You hit on something there that I've shared with people on the webinars individually that I think we lose track of it. And Dr. Rackner, you and I have talked about this. Patrick, you and I have talked about this. And that is the impact that one person that's on the webinar today can actually make an impact in their community. If there's one doctor that is under stress, there's probably 2 to 3 more doctors that are under stress. And so, I think we become a little short-sighted here, especially as entrepreneurs, because we're trying to figure out, how can I invest my money, make money, get my return on investment, and then keep making money on the long run? But I want people to kind of raise their head up a little bit, because what you're doing, you're making an impact in your community. Because if you are helping one doctor, you're helping bring the stress level down for that doctor, which you're actually providing a better health care in your community without you even knowing it. And the doctors may not even know it. But eventually the community gets better healthcare because the doctor's less stressed over their finances, juggling personnel, making sure that their staff is working properly. That's a big impact to a community there, Dr. Rackner.
It sure is.
Yeah. Let's see, we've got about 10 more minutes. Patrick, if you're still there, do you have any closing remarks you want to share about?
Well, yes, thank you. One of the things that you mentioned earlier was the interviews that I've done. And one of the things I meant to bring out was that these people actually tell us on these webinars that they followed our system and got referrals and built the thing up. And some of them really have built this thing to a huge income. When I mentioned a six-figure revenue, I didn't make that up, folks. We don't tell people they can make a six-figure income. You might not make any income unless you get out there and do something. But
right.
If you follow our system, there are people, well, here's some of them right here. Eric's got the slide up there that are all making six-figure incomes, and they started from scratch. And Eric, most of them had no background in the medical field at all whatsoever. So that testifies to the fact that we can teach people from scratch how to build this business.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks again, Dr. Vicki.
My pleasure. So nice talking with you, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dr. Rackner, I appreciate, first of all, you offering your books up in the PDF format and the information that you gave us today. And I think, having you on here today and then your impact of what you help us with. I know we touched on it just real briefly. We got a few more seconds here that I think we can squeeze this time in here, but kind of share, you mentioned earlier that you mentioned how you're able to help some licensees, and since doctors like to talk to other doctors, tell everybody how you do that within ABS. I think that'll be a great bow to put on this package for the day.
Yeah, so I constantly challenge myself to ask, how can I add more value and help people in my community be more successful? And I know Patrick is really concerned about that too. So we decided to, create books that the licensees or the business owners can put their names in and distribute. But I thought, well, gee, how about if I just wrote a letter to another doctor who might be outsourcing billing? And the letter could just say, hey, I am a surgeon. Here's why I outsource my billing. And if you would like to learn more, go ahead and have this conversation with this person. Now, from running my own practice, what I will tell you is that a lot of mail does not get into a doctor's hand.
Right.
I mean, I used to tell my office staff that I don't want any sales material. Just screen it all out. All I'm going to hear about is patient care. But I would never ask them to screen out a letter from another doctor.
Right.
And so I allow the business owners to use my name and my address. And this works great. So, the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. So we're always looking for ways of figuring out how to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Folks, again, and as Dr. Rackner says, you're going to be on the cover of each of these books here that she and Patrick have written, put together. And we've given you an opportunity to be the one that writes the foreword to these books. The other book that Dr. Rackner has joint ventured with is with Adam on the 9 ways doctors let money slip through their fingers. And that little yellow sticker up there shows that they're receiving a complimentary book from you, again, with your information in there. Plus, again, having that introductory letter from Dr. Rackner to a potential client that you may be looking at is another way in which we have secret ways in which we help you get in front of the doctors without always going and knocking on doors. So that's a great way. So Dr. Rackner, I appreciate your time. Do you have anything else here in the last few minutes or last few seconds here that we have you here?
Well, let me just say, guys, you have the chance to ask a doctor any question you want. You're crazy to not take advantage of it. Go ahead. Ask any question. Nothing off the table. I'll talk about sex. I'll talk about politics, whatever.
We've had this open all this afternoon. We've had a couple of people have ventured out there and given some questions. And I think someone kept trying to raise their hand. But if you're just raising your hand, all I can see is your hand. I don't have a way to unmute you. But if you want a question, you're trying to write a question, please type that out in the Q&A box, and we'll see what we can do. There we go. Question finally coming sincerely. I've heard all the positives about ABS, but my question is, how do I get a doctor to work with? What investment is it to start? Do you have an operation in, maybe that's Montana, maybe?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, you see that? Okay. Can doctors have many billers? So I can answer some of that. Dr. Rackner, you want to share anything else from maybe what you see there?
This is not like, you're not buying like a doctor in a box, right?
Right.
Like, to become a surgeon, I had to work. And so there is a path, but it's not like a do nothing thing, right?
Sure.
But you will be shown how to strategically and tactically build a business. Are you in Minnesota? I think that's what you were saying.
Yes.
In general, well, there's all sorts of doctors in Minnesota.
Yeah.
In general, doctors work with one biller. Like,
yes,
they have a relationship
correct.
with one organization or one individual.
Yeah. All right. All right. So I need to wrap up here, Dr. Rackner. Thank you. Well, I think we got all the questions. I'll answer some of these others here. So I'm going to kind of just do my wrap up here. Dr. Rackner, thank you again. I look forward to doing another interview with you soon.
All right. Thanks so much. Best of luck, everyone.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, there are some of the questions that did come in, and I just want to make sure that everybody's getting their questions answered. And I know that some people might say that the investment might be a little bit out of reach for them, but get back with the person that invited you. There may be some creative ways to help you out with that. If you'll just take the opportunity to kind of go along with that and go check that out. Namdi, I think that's how you say your name. Forgive me if I'm butchering your name, but you're asking, how do I get a doctor to work with? A few weeks ago, we actually did a full webinar on how we teach you how to market to doctors. There are 5, 6, 7, up to 12 different ways in which we show you how the strategies of getting that doctor. As Dr. Rackner says, you know, for her to be a surgeon, she just couldn't go to school and become a surgeon and then not do any surgeries to make money. And that's the way we are here. We can't just buy a business in a box and then expect ABS to hang your shingle out or your website out or do anything else like that. There's some work that has to be done. There's not a business opportunity or a investment that you're going to make where you're not going to have to do some of the work. This is what this is all about. This is what it means to be an entrepreneur. But we're going to teach you the different ways to strategize, to market to your local community and outside of that. So again, get back with the person that invited you here today, and we're going to help you with that. One of the things that we can certainly help you out with is that you're going to get the training from us. That training is going to probably take you about 10 days. Of training, and it's not like 10 full days. It's like an hour and a half of a day that you're going to just sit through in a class, just like, well, not a class, but a one-on-one, like we're doing right here on the Zoom meeting today, to where you're going to have a private tutor, basically, that's going to help you through that. But within a 30-day, once you've purchased with us and you've invested in yourself, You can have 30 days to still make up your decision whether you want to be a part of this. Yes, you will have to put your money up front and go through everything that you need to, so we can get you all of your business package and get everything that you need, get your training set up, get your website set up, and still go through the training. Like I said, you might be able to complete that in less than 10 days. Some people have done it in 4 to 5 days. But you still have the entire 30 days to still make up your decision. That's Patrick's guarantee back to you that he's offering you. There are not any other business opportunities or franchises out there that will have you come into their business. You pay up, you pay your investment, you complete all the paperwork, you go through their training, and at the end of that training, you can go back and say, no, I really don't think I want this. There is not anything else out there in the industry that can do that. So you've got to understand how important this part of it is. So you take advantage of that. Now, some of your next steps needs to be is, I would say, sign up for next Wednesday's webinar. Obviously, we have these every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Central Time. But in the meantime, go ahead and ask and request for the research guide that you've seen here. This is where you can get more information as you need it, as you're trying to make your decision. You can pass this on to some friends, some neighbors, maybe some business partners that you want to join in with you. You can do that. The other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, someone was asking, he says, I could call him Gerald. So Gerald says, you know, how do I go get the doctors? Go back just 2 to 3 webinars that we've done here in the last few weeks, where we kind of went through what it's going to take you to get to those doctors. That website is youtube.com/YABS. Go out there and go check that out. You can always go to our website as well, absystems.com/blog, and pull those up from there as well. Patrick mentioned about some folks that are successful, and obviously you want to talk to people who have been through the program. Now, whenever I say successful, is that they've stuck with it till they found their success. These people that I'm showing you right now have gone through the times where they purchased, they didn't get their first client the first month or 2. Some of them didn't. Some of them, it took them a little bit longer. But what made them successful is their commitment to themselves, not to ABS, but to themselves. And ABS is here to help you. So we want you to talk to these people. So you want to talk to some people who have failed. Some of these people have failed. That's the thing about it. But it didn't stop them to become successful. So also, we want to give you the opportunity to see a live demonstration of the software. Now, what this will prep you for to understand is we will do these demos for you for life for any doctor that you have as a potential client. We're here to sit here to guide you and the doctor through the ins and outs of the iClaim system and the EMRX system, and go through that and let us answer the questions for you. You could have just gone through the training, completed that within 10 days, and all of a sudden you've got a potential client. That potential client would like to see the software. That's why we're here. We're help you to do that, help you to close that deal. So the other next step you need to do is look at our purchase agreement. It's a downloadable guide that you can take a look at. And when you're ready to sign it, you can sign it electronically, and then get your funding all taken care of, and then schedule your training. That's what we're here for, to help you get that launched as quickly as possible. We've kind of gone over a little bit here, but that's okay. I wanted to make sure that you got everything that you could get out of Dr. Rackner. It's rare that we get her. We can only get her about 3 to maybe 4 times a year because of her busy schedule. So if you were on here live, congratulations that you were on here live with Dr. Rackner, and then even with Patrick with his schedule. So it's good that you were able to be on here today. I'm going to see if there's any other particular questions that may have come up. I don't see any. Gerald did ask, how do we get the books or the training? For the books, all you have to do is simply go back to the person that invited you to the webinar today. Simply ask for those 2 books that were offered by Dr. Rackner. Now, to get the training, you're going to have to go through the purchase agreement, get that funding taken care of, go through that training, see if this is still something you would like. If you get to the end of the training, you go, nope, this is not for me. We refund your money 100% back to you. No questions asked. I'll even say, has that ever happened? The answer is yes. But that's because we want to make sure that we're good on our end. You can see it clearly in the agreement, so you can certainly go there and review that there. Kevin says, with a letter, yes, with a letter. A letter is given from Dr. Rackner to your potential client with an introduction of reason why somebody should be looking to outsource, which they might want to look at you, and you might include one of those books that have your name on it. So I think that's all the questions that we have. Again, we've gone over just a little bit. Most of you have stayed on, so I appreciate your time. Join us next Wednesday for our live Wednesday webinar. You can tell it's at the end of the day. Sometimes it gets a little hard to say. But you can call us here at 866-565-8413. Love to help you out. We look forward to having you next Wednesday. We never know what we're going to be able to talk about next week. So thank you so much. Y'all all have a great evening, a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.